have you seen Sorry to Bother You yet?
Yes, I did see Sorry to Bother
All right,
You.
so are we warranted in how much we've hyped it? I think it's a very good film.
I enjoyed it. I laughed several times very hard, especially in the rap scene in the party. That was one of the biggest laughs of the year for me.
Yep, that was
when
tight.
He finally realizes what the crowd wants and gives it to him.
Yep, that was good.
But I saw it as taking big swings, which I really appreciate. So it gets a nod for that. It it reminded me of some other movies. Like I love Brazil. It kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Brazil. That's true.
So
points
true.
to you.
Brazil is one of my favorite movies. Brazil
great
is
one.
actually my recommendation when people talk about like what's the authoritarian movie for the moment.
Right.
And I am always going with Brazil because the grotesqueness matches the Trump.
Yeah, and it's
people.
funny, so you're laughing through fear and terror. It's
Right.
kind of a gateway film to like alternative films. Like it's not that weird, but it's weird enough that
That's
you're
how
like,
I experienced it when I watched it when I was 17. I said, "This is a gateway."
Yeah, I'm gonna
to
experiment with other art
alternative
films.
films.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to smoke a banana peel next. If
Monty
you will.
Python is a gateway film and
Right.
video kind of experience. But yeah, I really appreciated it. Do I feel like it's one of my favorite films of all time? No, but not.
Why? Because you're a neoliberal?
Yeah, because you're a neoliberal cuckologist.
Why are the job creators always the bad guys?
Why can't we
racist film against job creators and horsecocks? So I don't know. Can I say that? But
Sure,
it was.
I don't believe in spoilers. I'm so tired of spoiler
appreciated
whining.
the absurdist turn that it took because it really does make. I like movies that use its structure and style to make the point more than like here is the moral of the film. As you're experiencing it, your internal processes help you to understand what the filmmaker is going for, and it definitely had that effect on me. So I give it B+.
BlackkKlansman. Have you seen that?
Nah, I'm not down with Spike Lee.
What's the beef with Spike Lee? He's too self-indulgent?
I don't mind self-indulgence at all. Like,
I was going to say. Well, I was trying to lay a trap for you. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm glad that's not the critique.
Yoink.
Yeah.
Matrix.
I saw a story recently where he accepted some kind of consulting gig with the cops. Let's see if I can pull up the details on that.
I also read that takedown about BlackkKlansman being from Boots Riley. Like I thought that was pretty interesting.
He stepped off it. I saw BlackkKlansman, and I have a more sympathetic interpretation of it. But I think what occurred to me actually, and the bigger question that I have for you is, I saw BlackkKlansman, and before BlackkKlansman, there was an ad for the next Michael Moore movie.
Yeah.
And what hit me while I was watching it, and I have plenty of I think there's plenty of political problems with Spike Lee. I think Michael Moore has problems, and whatever you think,
it's almost like nobody's perfect.
Well, no kidding. But whatever you think of Boots Riley and Sorry to Bother You, it was like I was like, when we were watching the ads and then seeing BlackkKlansman, I was like, there was a time not too long ago where whatever you thought of Spike Lee or Michael Moore, it was like, that's it. Like, there's one guy who makes documentaries that talks about corporations abusing America and why capitalism's bad for people, and Republicans being assholes. And then there's another guy who will give you accurate treatments of aspects of white supremacy and police violence, and that's it. And now it does seem like maybe things are opening up a little bit, where like you don't have to just rely on these two very flawed filmmakers, because that's literally like the only game in town.
I just always found Spike Lee, and I could put Michael Moore into this thing too, although I'm somewhat more sympathetic to him
because he's a little more funny.
No, because he's white. But I just think that Michael Moore wears his polemics a little bit less pretentiously. Like he's just like, I'm this working class kind of muckraker.
Well, it's geography.
You mean like Michigan versus Brooklyn? Yeah. I just always found Spike Lee to be like, there was this filmmaker in the 50s, Stanley Kramer, and he would make like these issue films, and they were just sort of like, I totally always agreed with the message and with the kind of content and what it was saying, but just like, I'm the film guy. I'm looking for something that elevates the form a little bit over tabloid, even if I agree with the theme or agree with the insight. They're just not they don't really inspire me. I will say Do the Right Thing is definitely on my top favorite films of all time.
I was going to give you, because I had a list of films that I think he made that are actually legit good movies, which I was going to run by you. But Jamie, is he working for the cops?
Yeah. You want to see the article?
Well, you could just read off the top line.
He's working for the Knicks.
I'm not super into this like line of critique, but you put it out. So
yeah, I
don't
really care if he's working.
I think it's a legitimate critique.
Well, why? What's he doing for them?
Latest Spike Lee joint, paid NYPD consultant. The movie director, an outspoken critic of the department, allowed his firm to contribute to a police ad campaign.
I mean, if they're listening to him about the problems they have in their department,
yeah, I mean, if they're hiring
that.
him to talk about those issues, that's great.
Like, how about not beating and killing so many black
people?
people?
Wait, but are you saying his firm got hired to do ads for the NYPD? Is that what the story is?
I believe so.
Well, look,
to build trust with minority communities.
Well, Spike Lee has done ads for the Navy, for Nike, and for Uber. So, the guy does not have...
No, he's a corporate whore.
He's not a radical.
You don't have to be a radical anti-capitalist to have a critique of the police and how they function in society.
Well, he does. But actually, you know what, though? I think if you watch the movie, I don't think he's contradicting himself at all. Because I don't think the movie is in any way anti-police per se. It's anti-police being racist monsters. I heard Boots Riley say
it was pro-heroic police. So.
I mean, I think that's a little bit unfair as well, to be honest. Because he definitely does point to systemic problems in the police department.
Right.
But he certainly holds the perspective, as most, moderate liberal baby boomers.
Right.
Which is what Spike Lee is.
Yeah, exactly.
That police and he's much smarter than just a few bad apples, but no, he thinks that of course policing has an important function and people can do important things in that job, which is literally what the movie's about. So I just kind of find I'm open to the critique, but I'm very concerned. I'm not into moralism to begin with, and then honestly,
that's his stock in trade, right?
Well, but either way, going at him either. But if his ad campaign is about improving police and community relations, that is in some ways part of what BlackkKlansman the movie is about.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's really much to get him on.
I haven't seen BlackkKlansman, but I was telling somebody about the Boots Riley critique, which I think got way overblown in the press.
Right, Boots Riley wasn't going at him like that.
Yeah, he was saying
the press wants to play two black people off each other.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think Boots' critique is the one you need to go into that movie with, because it is odd timing for and the problem is I think, and I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard it like you, it's not as sort of glorifying the cops. But the problem, the person I was talking to, she's like, yeah, it starts off with cops going and to see if Black Panthers were going to get violent, and it's like
Stokely Carmichael,
COINTELPRO.
It's COINTELPRO stuff in the beginning.
But but she wasn't familiar with that history, and the way she presented that to me was they were making sure they weren't going to get violent, and that's not what COINTELPRO was about.
No, they were going to
No.
make them violent, so there was a crackdown.
Exactly.
And they would be destroyed.
I have to say, I think specifically though. I mean, this feels weird, not to insult her, but that's her. For that point specifically, she was not getting the point, right? Yeah. Like them going and monitoring Stokely Carmichael, even in the context of that film, is highly critical of the police department, and the guy who's doing it knows he's wrong. So that's not. I don't think
Michael's
that's
the
what
only one who's seen the film. We got to give it to him.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Even Spike Lee, Spike Lee's not going to. Spike Lee does whatever we say about how the limits of his politics. He's not pro Cohen. He's not pro monitoring Stokely.
No,
Carmichael.
but I mean, even the suggestion that was just to make sure they weren't getting violent, right? Just that specifically.
Yeah, but
that's actually.
Yeah, but if you watch the movie, I mean, that's not. I wouldn't interpret it like that.
That's actually getting at why I think Spike Lee is kind of. In the C class of filmmaker, because he gives you the impression that you're getting an insight into something important, but he's really giving it to you in such a sort of broad outline that it actually does disservice to actually understanding. And if it makes you look deeper into it, that's great. But I have a feeling most white liberals look at it and go now I know what it's like to be a black person. It's all over.
Well, I think that movie definitely had a lot of the real type of basic garbage racist that nobody wants to be associated with.
But didn't you like my white voice I just did? That was for you.
Pure. It was 1998 Def Comedy Jam all the way. Jamie,
exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, it comes down to the difference between leftists and liberals, I think. And Spike Lee can, he's a
libtard.
Like liberals want to reform the police. They think that the police can be reformed.
Right.
So maybe he's not a hypocrite in that regard.
Right.
And leftists view the police themselves, their very existence, as part of the foundational violence of capitalism and an essential part to, protecting private property and policing surplus populations and keeping them oppressed.
It's a bit of a different take.
Yeah. So we can critique the liberal take just like we always do.
Yeah.
And that's all fine. Boots was doing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and the last thing I'd say is I think the problem in that movie is that and it does show very much the limits of his politics, because he basically gives you there's a black nationalist campus perspective which he presents extremely sympathetically. In fact, there's also problems with how Spike Lee writes women generally,
any human
or any right, but I would say particularly women.
Yeah.
And this woman, she's great, right, in the sense that there's very little for her to do as an actress, because she's just supposed to be...
She's like a cipher.
She's just smart, noble.
Right.
And she's all those
a caricature.
things. Yeah.
That's mostly what he deals in.
Right. But the point is that the movie actually is sophisticated enough to be okay, so there's this kind of one line which is morally correct and exciting and has a huge amount of essential political and intellectual insight. And I would say there's a scene with Harry Belafonte on the history of lynchings, which should just be mandatory viewing for every white person. It should be, period. And the way he juxtaposes that with Birth of a Nation is actually very effective filmmaking. But you have that, and that approach, for all of its positives, is not a path to power, and it's an essentialist view, which someone like Adolph Reed would critique. And then on the other hand, you have a guy, and it is awesome. It's a true story. He literally fooled David Duke and made an ass of him on the phone. That's an awesome story. It's a huge amount of pleasure.
He's like a black jerky boy, for real.
He was like, hi, I want to join the KKK. God damn it. And I want my laminated cod. But, on the other, but what you do when you set up that juxtaposition, I don't think it's just pro cop, that super simplistic way of looking at the movie, but it's the only thing that can happen that has much sort of the people that are quote unquote getting stuff done in a certain way is through being a cop. And I do think that's a problematic message. And it shows that there isn't another lane. Right, that does show the limits, I think, of his politics. But there's a lot of parts of the movie that are very effective and people should see. And
look, there's always this is always the meta critique I have, is that you always have to remember at the end of the day that film is a commercial medium, so there have to be some sort of corners cut to make it compelling, to make it dramatic, to make you want to sit forward and watch it and see how it's going to end. So it's always going to prioritize those kind of visceral pleasures to some sort of nuanced political critique if it's going to be a commercial film.
But Boots Riley does put other things on the table. And whatever else you think about that movie, that is a very effective job at putting some very sophisticated politics in a pop culture format.
I love
and that's a huge
character.
accomplishment.
I thought that was great.
That's what I was going to say, is it seems like that Sorry to Bother You was so exhilarating to see, because it seemed like they were going through all of those same parameters and issues and
yet
still making a really entertaining movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing
Comedy
about Sorry to Bother You? I've been holding this back because I feel like it's going to make Michael angry, but
don't do it.
I like the movie, all right? I liked it a lot.
Where's my board?
But
wait.
You are a douchebag.
No, I just want breaking news. Look, I don't care. As long as it doesn't involve Lula.
Don't worry about making Michael mad.
It does not involve Lula.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, and Boots has responded to these criticisms and takes them seriously.
Yeah.
The only real speaking female character kind of veers off into manic pixie dream girl territory a bit. And the working class is very masculine in its representation, and women aren't really represented in that stratum, right? This woman character is a bourgeois artist, but
she's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and she's just this sexy sex goddess, but she is also the moral compass of the film.
She's a host, right? She's a robot.
I don't actually. Oh yeah. She's on another show where she's. I don't actually. Okay, let me.
So that's the feminist critique.
No, so I don't.
And he said that. Well, his response was that there were only it's a smaller budget film. They only had the ability to have a few different main characters, and he goes through why none of the other ones could have been female.
I thought his response was, "I'd hit that." No, I'm just kidding.
I think she does have something to her character slightly beyond who she's going to sleep with or not, although that is a main part of her function.
I thought her character was more actually complicated because I don't always view her as just the conscience, to be honest. Like I actually thought she was a really complicated character.
Yeah, they were poking fun at her too with her piece, her art piece.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it that she had her own little subplot with like selling out, and she had her own white voice or whatever, and I would certainly like to see that developed more. And I understand that you can only put so much in one movie, but it did seem like a bit of an oversight.
I think the Pixie Dream Girl thing. I think the Pixie Dream Girl thing fits a little bit with that.
I think that's fair. And I guess
I wanted her to be more Pixie Dream Girl.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
I could see, I mean, I don't, and then I guess the sort of gendered working class roles, I guess that just, for better or for worse, that just doesn't, that just wouldn't even occur to me one way or another, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think I think what you're saying is valid, but what's funny to me is I've had this conversation, like, Bree and I debated this. Like, I didn't view her as, like,
that pixie or that manic or that dream girl.
Maybe a little pixie, maybe a little manic, but not the conscience.
Yeah,
I thought she was very flawed in her own way, and actually, and this is a positive. I thought that made her role much more interesting and much more human. I didn't see her as just like, all right, like you're the noble girlfriend and you get it. Like I think that's the role in the Spike movie. And she's definitely not pixie manic dream girl at all, but she is just like
a honeypot for his.
No, she's not a honeypot. No? She's just great. She's just like great. A great person. Okay. And it's like cool. But that doesn't give one much to watch other than appreciating that she's cool. And I would even imagine as an actress, like
who is the actress? Anyone?
I don't
Tessa
remember
Thompson.
her name. Wait, in Sorry to Bother You.
No.
Sorry to Bother You.
Now I'm switching to Black.
Oh, my bad.
I think in Sorry to Bother You. Yeah, no, I think Tessa Thompson does a lot with that role.
She's got a little more, but I would like to. I mean, this is why we need more women filmmakers as well. Like I would love to see a movie from her perspective.
Definitely,
that would be a super interesting movie.
I don't suppose anyone went and saw Wanda that I recommended last time. No.
Hell no.
All right.
It's hard to find your films sometimes.
It was playing at Metrograph, so all you New Yorkers could have seen it. And it was on Turner Classic Movies. I tweeted about it. That's okay.
I think you know that if you want me to go see something in a movie theater, you literally have to take me.
Yeah.
And I will happily go on more dates with you.
Okay, that's great. It took me 6 months to get you to see Black Panther, and that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should probably spend that capital on something a little more substantial, though. But we had a good time.
You don't think it was substantial?
Well, I think our riffing on it was actually more fun than the film itself. I enjoyed it, though.
No, I enjoyed it. Do you like Kofi Annan?
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
I want to hear more from Kofi. I can't do the accent, but that's a great one.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
I think he was still at the UN when I worked at UNICEF, so I got to kind of be in his orbit a little bit.
Did you meet him?
No, I didn't meet him. But I shot him from afar with video.
Yeah,
that did sound right.
Yeah, from inside the UN General Assembly.
CIA.
I shot him. No, I wish they wouldn't take me.
Really? IQ wasn't high enough.
Exactly.
I didn't know he went to